Hello. So, hi again. This is another YouTube video thing. I am thinking that, dude, this is actually much better recording in OBS. The thing is that it makes it easier to make a video because I don't have to render a video. But this is getting closer and closer to streaming. But I think streaming still doesn't make much sense for me because, like, who will watch me? And I don't stream consistently, and it's just the same as uploading a video. So I think I'm going to keep recording videos, but this is much easier. So I think I'm preferring this. So today I had something in mind: animals that can fly, or like creatures that can fly. Animals that can fly. So as we are going into this, right? My sort of theory is like in entering this research, what I think is there are essentially three groups or categories of flying creatures. One is birds, avians, right? The second is insects, and the third is bats. And this is what I want to get into, which is how are bats the only mammals who can fly? Okay, so I need a proper flying animals. Okay, let's start from here, I guess. That aren't birds. Okay, so we'll now here are the sort of rules, right? Let me see if there's an online notepad thing. That would be interesting. So here is the thing, right? Um, it should be sustained flight because there are animals that can glide. So I already saw flying squirrel somewhere, but they including a flying ray, for example, but they are not sustained. Uh, um, they are not sustained. Um, they are not sustained uh, flyers, aviators, right? So sustained flight. But what does it mean? Um, yeah, because one way to say sustained flight is you can end up or you can fly to a higher position than when you started. So this means that this disqualifies two groups of creatures, right? Um, I'm just gonna test something quickly. So, okay. Anyways, so there are two groups that it disqualifies, right? Animals like flying squirrels that glide down, and we already saw a flying ray, right? Or flying fish that uh jump high. So these two are disqualified, right? Okay. So, but we'll read a little bit about them. Um, so animals that fly flying ray um grow as large as 17 feet and can jump 6 feet up into the air. Like the majority of our list, flying rays are incapable of sustained flight. Flying snake is the same. They glide, although they glide like many of the other animals on this list. They are more nimble. Kalugo. Okay, so this is flying lemurs. Uh, but they're not lemurs. They're closer to primates like the giant apes. So can they fly? They're capable of gliding over 230 feet. It's a lot, but again, it's not sustained. Flying squid. Again, I'm assuming these are like jumping squid, basically. Gliding ability. Wallace's flying frog. I'm pretty sure this is also gliders. Flying squirrels also gliders. This one I know. flying fish. Again, I think can they actually fly? This also is gliding. Flying fox. Is it not just a bat? Fruit bats. So they're bats. Wow. Fruit bats, right? Um. So these are fruit bats, and they're saying that they are much different than normal bats. And this is the first sustained flyer aviator in our um list. And then the next is bat. So as you can see, we have got birds, bats, insects, and if you're talking about older ones, dinosaurs, right? Because what dinosaurs what dinosaurs could fly? Um, Pterosaurus. So Pterosaurus were one of the dinosaurs that could fly. Wait, could they also not fly? Could they just glide? Okay. Creatures with sustained flight. Let's see what this shows up with. Flying and gliding animals. So the Wikipedia page will uh volant. What does volant mean? Okay, we'll look that up quickly. Um we have a couple of good looking um articles. So I'll quickly search what volant means. Able to fly or glide. That's pretty cool, actually. I mean, the word being able to fly is pretty cool as well. Okay. Um, Birds are one of the only four taxonomic groups to have evolved powered flight. What are the other three? At least four times. Insects, pterosaurs, birds, and last in bats. Okay. So we have got these four. I actually got it pretty much 100% correct, like without research. So I'm happy about that. Yeah, these are also the same, and these are also the same. Okay, so why are we talking about this? The thing is that um flight is such a weird. So first of all, I just saw bats today when I was walking home, and I was like, bats are so weird because first of all, when you see them normally flying around, you don't notice them, but at night they're more noticeable for some reason. Like you don't. If I see a bat flying in the morning, I would just assume it's a bird, but at night it's much more clear that it's a bat. But the thing is, I feel like bats are not talked enough about. Like this is what I was thinking that okay, bats are not really that talked about. Um, it's like these are creatures that can fly. But then I thought, so aren't birds? Like birds aren't that talked about either, and they are the ones who can fly. So first of all, insects make a lot of sense why they can fly. They're very small in size, right? Um, the way they fly. I'm sorry for that. If you heard that, that was just my alarm going off. The way they fly is also very, very different from the other animals, right? And they it's hard to say, but like to me it makes much more sense that insects can fly, right? But when it comes to birds, right, they are like, think about it, a cat or a dog, they are very, when they're running around or when they are climbing things, right, they're very elegant creatures, they're very sophisticated. So are humans, but when you see them, right, climbing stuff or running around, the way their brain processes the information in front of them, and then the practiced way they put one leg in front of the other, the way they are able to, you know, when they're running, right? When they're running really fast, a dog or a cat, even, sometimes they'll have all of their four legs on air, right? So they're airborne for a particular amount of time. Horses do this as well. When they are airborne, they have no control over their body, over their trajectory, right? Or very little control, anyways. But despite that, they're able to sustain that, and they're able to, use that to move forward, right? Humans can do that as well. So that in itself is very impressive to me. But then birds add an entirely new element where they don't have arms anymore, right? They have wings, and they now use those. I can literally hear birds flapping wings outside, but they literally use that to fly. Like the amount of mental calculation that would be required for them to fly. Obviously, to them it's natural, right? I mean, they have to learn it eventually. Like that's another entirely different thing, right? Like when you think about let's say cows or giraffes or other wild animals, right? The newborns, they start walking like moments after they're born, and they start running. Sorry, they stand moments after they're born. We can actually look this up quickly. uh let's see cows. So cow, that's such a stereotypical me being an Indian searching up cows, but I've actually seen a cow giving birth. Cow, calf, stand time. Okay, I'll just search. How long does it take for cow calf to start walking? I'm pretty sure it's like almost immediately. How soon can they walk after birth? Um, 1 to 2 hours after birth. So they can stand within 1 to 2 hours after birth. They start walking between 1 to 3 hours after standing, and they can start running in like a few days. I'm pretty sure. Let's look the same up for a deer and an elephant. Baby deers take this. Is it the same? Yeah, it is the same website, isn't it? 10 to 30 minutes, so much quicker, I think. 1 to 2 hours after birth, they start walking. Full mobility within 1 to 2 weeks. We can look for elephant as well. This website, by the way, shunchild.com, has been cooking. Standing again 10 to 30 minutes, 1 to 2 hours. So these are creatures that have four legs, right? Four legs means that it is naturally easier for them to balance themselves compared to people, humans, right? But even despite that, humans take far longer to learn how to walk, right? It takes far longer for them to learn how to walk, and longer for them to learn how to run. In general, humans are not very independent creatures. I'm sorry if you heard that. I'm just like pausing a little bit because I'm burping a little bit. But what I was saying is, humans are in general very social creatures. I can go down this rabbit hole as well. Octopuses are very smart, but the thing is that they don't have a way to, and this is true for many organisms, creatures in general. They don't have a way to transfer that knowledge to their uh, generation ahead. They live for like a couple of years, I'm pretty sure. Octopus lifespan. So, and they haven't had the time to generate. I'm just trying to see. The funny thing is etymology and pluralization. That's the first part of the Wikipedia article. Um, 6 months to 5 years. Okay. So again, they just don't live long enough to develop language and then use that to communicate further, right? But they're pretty smart creatures. They're some of the smartest creatures alongside like birds, like crows, for example. But again, my point is that we as humans are so smart, right? We are very intelligent creatures right from the birth. Um, our offsprings, like the really small kids, are equivalent to, like, if we remove humans, they become the smartest creatures on earth by like 5 6 years of age, right? An adult human is by far, like, without any competition, the smartest creature on planet earth. But but we take so long to learn how to walk, right? That's a physical thing that we have to learn. It's not like we can't do that. Like, we learn how to cycle as well. People learn how to pilot uh an airplane, right, or a car or a bike. Humans learn all these things, but it takes us a while, right? And then we have to, and those are still things that are pretty simple. Like, balancing in itself is difficult, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty simple. Driving a car, you don't need balancing. You do need to focus on other things, but it's not balancing, right? A flight as well, you learn a lot of things. You're not, as far as I understand, flying, it's a lot of training, and of course, you have to use a little bit of your own intuition or knowledge, but it's very, very, very set in stone, because we don't want people to just be winging it, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended, um in a passenger flight, right? But humans, as far as balancing goes, right, they're pretty good at balancing on 2 feet, right? But after that, we are not that agile compared to other animals, right? And then there are birds who are literally outclassing any other organism on planet Earth, right? Because they can fly. If you see, I urge you, next time you see a bird, please look at how, when they are flying from a higher place to a lower place, they will start diving in, and then they know when to start positioning themselves to flap and slow down their descent. And birds are so good at it. Like, they will, it's not like a helicopter, right, where it starts slowing down way higher in the air and then it slowly dives down. No, they will almost like time it so perfectly that they start slowing down just as they're about to touch the ground. Then there are birds who just slam into windows or just sometimes do stupid stuff as well. But watch some birds flying around, and they do it so gracefully as well. Like, the something biologically has to have changed in the brain to remove the element of fear of height completely. Like, humans have a fear of height in general because it's just required for survival, right? But for sure, birds have it like mm, built out of the brain at some point. And not only that, I want to try something by the which is like, what if I resize this window? What happens? Okay, it just like resizes. That's funny. Anyways, um, it is beautiful to me, like the way birds fly, because to them it must be so natural, but to me it feels so difficult to even start thinking what you would have to do to coordinate all your body parts to achieve that. And then they do it like reactionary as well. As I said, their birds are the some of the most smartest creatures on earth. Like, we can actually look this up. Most intelligent animals. So obviously humans are the first. Okay. So humans, then dolphins, ravens, uh pigs, chimpanzees, elephants, African grey parrots, octopuses, bonobos, rats, that's interesting, pigeons, crows, dogs, cats, horses, squirrels, bees, ants. Ants. Okay, this is getting confusing. Um, when I think of intelligent animals, right, I'll just read what they say about ants quickly, or even bees. Bees are self-aware, they're sentient and possibly primitive form of consciousness. They can solve problems and things. The original computer system, instead of thinking like individual, they think of an entire network. Orcas, or how are orcas under ants? So when I think of intelligent animals, right, what I'm thinking of is animals that are self-aware, that they're one of the most beautiful tests is the mirror test. Now I want you to take a second and think what the mirror test is, just from the name. Got it? Now I want to tell you that that is wrong, and how beautifully wrong that is. So first of all, I'm not sure. I might not have recorded the past little bit of the audio. So I'll check that at the end. If I haven't, I'll clip something in just to fill the gaps in. But I'll repeat the little bit, like a previous little bit, which is I want you to imagine what a mirror test is for an animal's intelligence. So if you've thought about it, what the mirror test actually is you put a dot, a painted dot of some kind in an animal's face, in a part of the animal's body where they can't see it, and you present a mirror to them. The idea is that if the animal touches themselves, then they understand that what they see in the mirror is themselves. So elephants pass this test. We can actually look this up. Mirror test animals. Um Hama Hamadras baboon that has been administered the mirror test. I want to see the animals who have passed it. Robots is interesting. What does this even mean? Um yeah. So European magpies have demonstrated self-mirror recognition. So this would be um one of the tests that I would say would, because ants are intelligent, of course, right? Insects are intelligent as well. But my idea of intelligence in this context is more about how close to a conversation can you make with that organism, right? How much of a conversation you can have with of course you can't really have a conversation with any organism because all the organisms are non English speakers, I'm pretty sure. But the question is, how many signs can they identify, right? um Animals that have passed: cetaceans, so dolphins and killer whales, which are also orcas. um These are like, by the way, there are a lot of caveats to these tests. So one of the criticism is that when you ink a certain part of their body, right? Whether if you do it when they're awake, or if even if you're doing when they're asleep, right? They're more likely to touch that area anyways, because either they have just seen that you have put something there, or more likely, uh certain smell or certain texture of the paint is more likely to make them touch that area, right? So that might um dissuade, or like that might discredit the animal's intelligence. So there are some caveats to this. Gorillas, of course, a lot of primates will pass this. Proboscidae, I didn't know this is what elephants come under. So as I said, Asian elephants. House mouse, that is so surprising to me. Birds, Indian house crow, some pigeons, fish, uh, crustaceans, cephalopods, so octopus, insects. So ants actually do that. Is so surprising that ants actually do that. That I find it so hard to believe that that is due to consciousness, because they're so small. Like there's no way they have that. I've talked about this before, but our brains are so small compared to a supercomputer or compared to a actual like data center or whatever. Despite that, we're able to think so much, but that's after so much of biological efficiency, right? Um, how can ants? I just don't believe it. Carnivores. So unfortunately, dogs and cats. Um, unfortunately, dogs and cats seem to fail this test quite often. Um, which I don't know. I feel bad about it because I feel cats are pretty smart, dogs as well, right? Maybe as evolution goes on and the tests are performed again, they might pass it. There's no like, it's not something that can't changed, can't be changed. So as I said, octopuses are very smart. They are very um I'm just looking at this. Sorry, I'm just reading this and it's very interesting. Avoid as behavior. What does that even mean? Anyways, this is kind of funny. What does this even mean? But anyways, uh, so my point was that octopuses are very smart, crows as well, birds as well in general, right? Um, they can almost hold a conversation with humans, right? They can interact with humans. Of course, when I say almost hold a conversation, I don't mean they can actually hold a conversation at all. But what I mean is that they can do things like show signs of affection, or they can show complex emotions, right? Now, as complex as it gets for an octopus, but it's still very interesting to see that they can remember people, or they can, you know, like for example, octopuses can they have I can't remember the video. Let me actually find it. Let me see if I can um find the video. Not playing piano. Um what the AI bloody, what do you call it? Epidemic. We are really living in a post apocalyptic world. Okay, we'll watch this video and we will watch this is also funny. We'll watch that quickly as well. I don't want to spend too much time. Okay, Monterey Bay Aquarium, right. Okay. Um so again, these now you can make an argument that a lot of these sort of interactions can be non-sentient or non-conscious, right? Uh Fish would be doing the same thing, or some insect might be doing the same thing as well, right? But that's sort of the difference that I'm trying to create, which is octopuses like to play. This one is a very good example because in this octopus, right? This one is playful towards its caretaker, so it will occasionally like just pump out uh, water from its gills to just wet the caretaker occasionally, and it will like stuck itself. Like, look at this; it's so funny. Sorry if this is grossing you out, by the way. Oh, I just closed the tab. Um, Let me reopen it. Okay. So my point was that it is something that they do, which is so fascinating because first of all, I didn't expect octopuses to be this smart. Right? I knew octopuses are pretty smart because they can solve mazes and stuff. But even despite that, the fact that they are playful to me is so interesting. A lot of animals are playful, by the way, but being intelligent, one of the other signs of being intelligent, by the way, is being um warm towards humans. By warm, I just mean like being friendly towards human instead of being scared of them, or instead of being hostile towards them, right? So for example, as much as I love cats, dogs, lions, these animals, right, they naturally, their tendencies are not to be friendly towards humans, right? Especially cats, because they are not fully domesticated, right? They're much later domesticated than dogs, and then you can go to more wild animals, right? If you're raising one from its childhood, of course it will see you as its parent, or you know, its friend. But naturally speaking, you know, these animals are much more hostile or scared of humans rather than being friendly. Whereas a lot of other, this bird, by the way, this is one of the like hell birds, just, yeah, shoebill. This is literally a bird from hell, right? Very highly intelligent, by the way. And this is not a small bird, like, it's like almost a human size. Look at this. How is this animal real? It's actually nuts. But this is a real bird, and as scary as they look, they're actually friendly towards humans, because again, they're intelligent and they recognize. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's like sort of curiosity, because curiosity is another one of those complexer emotions, right? Compared to other emotions, like fear is a very primal emotion, whereas curiosity is a little bit more complex. But my point was that there are animals like orcas, for example. They are, in general, they are not hostile towards humans, right? Or they're not scared from humans as well. They don't see humans as food either, right? Sharks are similar, but sharks are not that intelligent. Like, you won't see sharks on an intelligent rating, but they're friendly towards humans. At least some sharks, especially ones that are not, because not all sharks are. I have to show you this video now that I've mentioned this. Okay. Um, Nush, it's it's not sneezing. Oh my goodness. I hope you didn't hear that. But it's not sneezing technically. It is technically speaking, it's sort of sneezing, like, because it's underwater, so of course it's not sneezing air, but it is sneezing, sort of making that motion, but it's so cute. But my point was that nurse sharks, for example, they don't really have any tools to, you know, majorly hurt a human, and they're really friendly towards humans as well. Again, if you think of a fish, right, usually they would just get scared and run off, or they would try to bite you or something like that. But a lot of animals have the mental, like, capability to be curious, right? Um they have the intelligence to be curious. um I'll just end this by saying that it is interesting, because I was thinking about this the other day. um It was just a video where someone, like, it's like multi-dating sort of thing, right? There is one guy and a lot of girls, and they're like dating together. And there was this one girl who was like really cool, really like charming, and everyone in the comments and everything are like talking about her and being like, "Oh, she's so cool. They would make a great couple, right? The girl and the guy." And I couldn't help but notice that I felt the opposite. I felt that she was putting a lot of effort in. I mean, a lot of effort. It's like a dating show sort of thing. So, you know, it's more like just having fun and that sort of thing. But she was definitely really cool, and I definitely thought she would make for a great partner. But watching the video, actually, it felt like the guy wouldn't. Like, the guy wouldn't actually enjoy having her as a partner, even if he did enjoy. My main worry would be, I don't think, of course, I'm not like trying to, psychoanalyze a project or something, but my point is that when I was watching the video, I felt that she has definitely a higher capacity to feel things than the guy. The guy was like a cool person. I'm not saying like he's a bad guy or anything, but it felt like she has much more of a much more depth to her, I guess, in some sense. Not to mention the people who actually saw the whole video, he actually said that their fashion sense don't match, and uh he would left swipe her on a dating app or something. So that's something that I don't know how people are saying that, oh, she should have been the one or whatever. But again, my point is that her being so charming, I think, blinded everyone that nobody noticed that the other guy was, in my opinion, just not that much for her, right? He didn't seem excited, which, like, the stuff that she was saying and doing, like, that would have been falling head over heels for her. So yeah, different. So my point was that a person who has a very high capacity to feel things deserves a person who has a very high capacity to feel things, because otherwise you will end up feeling very shallow, your friendship or relationship or whatever. Anyways, hope you're doing well. One last thing I'll do, which I should have done yesterday, but I completely forgot, which is look up the name of Indian boxer, Indian female boxer. So these are just the names that I couldn't remember yesterday. So Mary Com, I told you it's something like that. Okay, so if you haven't seen, no pressure by the way, but I did a challenge of naming 100 women yesterday, and holy shit, did I fail so badly. Because what happened was couldn't, so I didn't fail, I did name 100 women, but it took me 2 hours. In my defense, I made a rule that I couldn't name any live action celebrities. So that made it a little bit more difficult, but still 2 hours is just absurdly long. But I did finish it. And these are some of the people that I couldn't remember the name of on the day. And some people that I wanted to know about as well. So the first driver. Um Again, that was my alarm. I'm sorry for that. First driver ever. Why does it keep saying Bertha Benz? I should have actually known this name, but okay. Bertha Benz is the first driver ever, first computer programmer. See, it's a woman. Oh, okay. So I was sort of right. Ada Lovelace, Augusta Ada King, Countess of Lovelace, was an English mathematician and writer chiefly known for her work on Charles Baggett's proposed mechanical general purpose computer. So I think what her thing is that she never actually programmed on a computer as we know it today, but she wrote the first program for a computer. So that's pretty cool, right? Okay. We'll see first in women's. Okay. Fields in which women were first. List of women. Okay, so there's a distinction that I'm trying to make, which is not the first women pilot or something like that, but fields in which women have been the first to do something. So I give you the two examples that I knew of. The first driver ever, at least for an extended period of time, was Bertha Benz. She also invented brakes and stuff, I think, or at least improved them on the journey. At the first computer programmer was a woman, Ada Lovelace. Um, Also, let me see the Dangal girls. These are like wrestler sisters. What? Forgot. Okay, what are the actual names? Geeta Fogart and Babita Kumari. I guess she changed her name. I'm sorry, I'm just like seeing this quickly. Um, okay. How do we? So these are first known women. But what I want to see is women who were the first to do something in general. Um, how would you find this? So I'll use ChatGPT just for a second, just to like understand how you would even like go about finding this, right? Uh, yeah, Copilot is there. I guess I can use Copilot as well. It doesn't really make a difference. I want to know the fields in which women were the not women, not the first women's do women's to do something, but rather the first to do it were women. For example, the first driver or computer programmer were women. Earliest known practitioner were women. I know this. Interesting. So, okay, okay, wait. So, we just want to know what should I Google search to find this information. Again, my idea is that ChatGPT is better at language, so it's easier to use. Fields historically started by women. This inventions and discoveries by women. Women-led fields is also interesting. Women-led fields. It is so difficult to find stuff like this even after all of this stuff has been. Okay. Uh, what is this article? See, again, this is more like I'll read this because this is still important, right? Regardless. Um, okay, so Marie Curie was the first person to win Nobel Prize in two different fields. Dr. Mae Jemison became the first African American woman to travel into space. It's still important, right? But what I am looking for is people like Ada Lovelace or Marie Curie, who were the pioneers in what they did, right? Before anyone else. Aradia Perlman, um, Margaret Thatcher. I heard some things about her. Um, Wait, Indra Nui, the former CEO of PepsiCo. Frida Kahlo. I feel like I know her from somewhere. We also look up American Psycho movie. The director, Mary Harron. Right. Okay. Um, I'm just quickly like skimming through these to see if there's something that I can like recognize or something like that. The concept of catalysis. What? Elizabeth Fulham. How is this not more well known? Catalysis is one of the most fundamental things about chemistry, and this concept was invented by Elizabeth Fulham, and that's not something that's on Kevlar as well. Stephanie Kolek, polonium and radium. So this is Marie Curie. Okay. Again, I just don't know a lot of these things. That is also interesting. Eunice Newton Food. Household paperware. Dishwasher. Okay, there are some bad jokes. So I'm not going to make them. Uh, that's also interesting. Automatic roti maker. This is not a surprise that so many household inventions are also made by women. Cosmetics. House solar heating. Maria Tickers. These are things that I would expect to know that these are made by women. Hot comb, curling iron. Why is curling iron the C like not capitalized? Can I edit this? Hmm. Interesting. I can log in. I am someone who has actually donated to Wikipedia. I am pretty sure I should be able to, but it's fine. It's just a minor typo, anyways. Okay, let's continue. Windscreen wiper. Mary Anderson. Mm, Underwater telescope. Yeah, so this is the first written computer program. Written compiler. Case hopper. Written programming languages. 9 coding languages were invented by women. Arc assembly language by Kathleen Booth. COBOL was developed by Grace Hopper as well. That's insane. Formac, logo, CLU, Xerox Spark, BBC Basic. GIF was invented by Lisa Gelopter. Mathematics. Hmm. These are like stuff that I very vaguely understand, but not enough to like appreciate it. Hilbert's 10th problem. All Hilbert did was just cause problems in maths, by the way. Three gap theorem. Wireless transmission. Interesting. Chocolate chip cookies were invented by Ruth Graves of Wakefield. Pizza saver. Oh wow, that's so funny. Mint chocolate chip by Malin Ricketts. A lot of biology as well. I remember Rosalind Franklin, Nettie Marius Stevens. Maya Briggs type indicator, Catherine Crook Briggs, and her daughter Isabel Briggs Myers. A strange situation procedure. What is this? Okay, interesting. So I don't think we found Bertha Benz in this, right? Hmm. So stuff like this is very hard to find because how do you find, a woman who did something first when it's not talked about enough? I think I'll end the audio here, but it was pretty interesting to learn about stuff like this. Hope you're doing well. Hope the day has been going good for you. I will waste my time playing Overwatch now, so I'll have fun. Hope you have too. And yeah, see you soon. Bye bye.